Hi, welcome. Welcome to Kismet. I'm so glad you're here. I wanted to jump on and share a little bit about the upcoming transits for this weekend and next week. This is going to be short and sweet and right to the point. So I'm just going to jump right in. This weekend, we just had Mercury move into the sign of Leo. Now, on the chart that I'm showing here, this has Mercury at 8 degrees because this is the chart for next Friday, which is what I'm going to talk about. Um, as we get towards the end of the podcast. But Mercury is a planet that relates to communications and ideas and information, and it's all about gathering data. It has to do with talking to people, and important things are happening this particular weekend because Mercury just moved into Leo and is making this trine aspect to Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And this is, bringing up some kind of movement, something exciting is happening. There's a feeling of I'm going to take a new initiation. I'm interacting in this new way. I'm going to step into my power in a new way. This could be like new visions that are kind of being formulated inside of you. You might be getting inspired to take action on something. There could be like a new path that's opening up. And this could also symbolize a new direction that maybe you weren't expecting to take. And now you're feeling like a lot of energy is moving towards like, yes, I can do this and I'm getting a vision for it. Um, but with this transit, this particular weekend, you could also feel like, oh, but I'm going to have to take responsibility for things in a new way. And what's that going to be like? And there's a feeling of just contemplating a lot of things that you're not sure how it's going to kind of pan out. Um, so this is, I think, requires some faith, and that is something that you might feel build on Saturday, the 28th, because that is when Mercury will be making that trine to Neptune in Aries. So maybe on Friday you feel a little bit of the like responsibility, and then on Saturday you might feel that little uplifting energy from Neptune, like, okay, yes, I can take this next step. I can take on this new project. Can do this new thing. But then on Sunday, the 29th, we have Mercury in an opposition to Pluto. And so then it's kind of like you've thought about it, the inspiration has come, and now something opposes you. There's a force, there's a concern, there's a worry, there's a tension happening. Um, this could be a million things, but this is something like, a fear is being brought up to your attention, maybe an insecurity, something that you're going to deal with a little bit of a struggle. For some people, it might be minor, and for other people, it might feel a lot bigger. The most important thing to remember with the Sunday's energy is not to make rush decisions and not to be too rigid or stuck. This is fixed energy. So the more that you kind of my way or the highway, the more you're going to just feel that tension build instead of like, okay, feel the tension, feel the trigger, and then ask yourself to deepen what is underneath of this? And, how can I give myself some time and some space? So then what we're having happen is that what's happening this weekend is most likely going to relate to what's happening when Mercury goes retrograde from July 17th until August the 11th. So whatever's bubbling up right now, um, it's going to relate to what's happening for the rest of the summer. This retrograde shadow for Mercury starts on the 30th. So for some people, it may not be until the 30th that like everything starts to become a little bit more clear or in your awareness, or whatever's happening might not happen until the 30th. Um, but this is something we're going to be wading through all summer, and we're going to have time to review, to think about it, reconsider. We're going to need that time and space. And this is again why I said try not to be too fixed, because this is a fixed energy, and our tendency with the fixed energies is to just plow forward and push our way through. And that's really not going to serve us, knowing that this retrograde is coming. So we can prepare ourselves by saying, okay, I can also be flexible. Like I can know what I want, and I can also know that it doesn't have to work out exactly how I think it should. Our zeal is beautiful. We do not want to diminish our zeal and our excitement. If you're a Leo, you know what I mean. We need that connection to the zeal. But also just having permission to adjust. So, the real kind of crux of what I wanted to talk about today is that we have about 6 more days with Venus in the sign of Taurus. And Venus in Taurus is an energy that inspired me to host the Freedom of Abundance workshop on July the 4th, and also, connected me earlier this year when I hosted the Metaphysics of Abundance workshop. These are two different types of workshops, and I'm really excited to be talking about this because Venus in Taurus is a placement that reminds us that life is meant to be full and rich and lovely and delicious, right? Life is filled with pleasures and goodness, and we're meant to feel the breadth and the width of what life has to offer us. So Venus in Taurus is all about connecting to abundance. It's about aligning with our values. Abundance is this ability to feel full. It's about experiencing all of life, this fullness of life, and it's about feeling free. That's why I call it the workshop, the Freedom of Abundance workshop, because with freedom comes limitless possibilities. It's about knowing that you can have what you want, right? Now, full transparency here, I did not grow up abundant. I didn't grow up in abundance. I watched my parents work really hard. Searched the house for loose change so we could get a treat. Yes, we had all of our needs met, but we did not have a lot of money. Hard work was the emphasis. Everything is about hard work. And there was not a feeling of freedom at all. I was never allowed to have the things I really wanted, and I felt a lot of shame for even asking for them because we just did not have the money for that. Also, my parents' values are very different than mine. So, the things that they valued or would spend money on maybe didn't feel abundant for me. And this showed up later in my life too, in many different ways. In one way, I'm just giving some examples too, because sometimes we can think like, oh, I'm abundant, I have all my needs met. But we're actually, the majority of the world is living through a scarcity mindset. And the scarcity mindset can be, feeling afraid to spend money on ourselves. I lived most of my life this way. I would spend tons of money on my friends. I would do things for other people, but very, very infrequently would I buy anything for myself. And when I did, I wouldn't even buy what I really wanted because I was afraid that what I wanted was too expensive. So this has been a huge evolution and theme that I've been working through in my life. And this is why it's so important for me to talk about this and create these spaces for you and for me to expand into greater levels of abundance. Because I was definitely that person that was waiting, for the sale, and I was judgmental of how other people spent their money. I didn't feel that I could have things that were nice. And definitely was afraid to spend money or invest in self-care or, readings or things that would expand me. So personally, I have been looking at scarcity for a long time, and I've been examining this and bringing different levels of healing to this scarcity belief system that I've had. I found so much in my shadow, and coming to Arizona really broke me completely open because I came out here with very little. And through this experience, I really needed to understand the energetics of abundance on a whole new level, which I have done, and it's incredible. And my life is thriving now in a really short period of time of me putting in this deep trust and learning the energetics of abundance. Now, this is not that I wasn't faced with trials. I faced so many huge trials and situations and even collaborations that were very constrictive, where, people were very afraid of money and they, projected that onto me. And what I needed to understand was that I was still carrying parts of that scarcity mindset. It was just being reflected back to me. So life is this journey of reflection. Now, because what I have experienced in the last year has been so incredible, and I've experienced so much freedom from what before felt like so much constriction, I want to share this with other people. So, at the core of Venus in Taurus, this is an archetypal energy that reminds us that we are deserving, that we are worthy, that we belong, that our worth is not based on what we do, but who we are. Now, this is easy to say, and a lot of people say this, um, but it's very different to embody it. This is what all of my somatic release and reprogramming work is about, is teaching us, me, you, everyone, how to embody. Because embodiment doesn't come from knowing. It doesn't come from what we think we know. Embodiment comes from changing our neural pathways and actually taking action from new belief systems. So this is kind of what we're going to be doing on Friday at this workshop, is we're going to do some reprogramming, because ultimately you have to feel it in your body. You have to feel worthiness. You have to feel deservingness. You have to feel this inherent worth. And while that sounds easy to do, we have blocks and we have shadows that keep us from actually experiencing that feeling in our body. And until we release those blocks, we're not going to be able to bring that new belief system in. So that's again what we're going to be working on Friday. Now, when we think of Venus in astrology, in our charts, in the sky right now, Venus is about what we are attracted to and what lights us up. Okay. This is the energy of being alive and radiant and brilliant and vibrant, right? This is permission to be all that we desire to be. Well, what I have learned most importantly about the state of abundance is that it is a state of beingness, and that's Venus energy. It's like, how do you hold your body? How does your body feel? That's embodiment. That's what we carry into a space. You know deep inside whether or not you walk in freedom or you walk in scarcity. You know it because you can feel it in your body. You know what it feels like when you are on vacation. You feel free. Well, imagine feeling that all the time. That's an abundant state of being. So this state of abundance is not something that you can get from material items on the outside. So abundance is not about accumulating wealth or money. Abundance has to do with what is internal for us. And, it also relates so strongly to what we're allowed to radiate. Like we're here to radiate what our values are. Um, And Venus also reminds us that you can have all of the money in the world. You can have all the resources, all the wealth. You can have all the items, and you can still not be satisfied, fulfilled, or abundant. Right? How many wealthy people have you met in your life that have so much and they'll still say that's too expensive? Or they'll still judge how other people spend their money. Both of those things are very indicative of a scarcity mindset, because an abundance mindset never needs to judge anything outside of itself. An abundant soul knows that there's no such thing as too expensive. Maybe it's not what you want, but there's no such thing as too expensive. If something is meant for you, it has nothing to do with price. Again, coming back to this is about learning the energetics of abundance. Because when we're abundant, we're going to feel this sense of fullness and fulfillment, right? There's a deep inner knowing with an abundance energy that we have all the time, all the money, and all the resources that we need, that we're never in lack. This doesn't mean that there isn't lack in the world, and it doesn't mean that we don't experience lack or constriction. It means that when we experience those things, we know that that relates to the season, and that when things are cut back, just like they are every winter, the earth retracts. There's a cutting away, there's a cutting back, there's a falling away. And then when spring comes, there's an expansion even greater than before. So in an abundance mindset, we're not, we're never going to say things like, I can't afford that, or that's too expensive. When you have it, when you actually live from an abundant state of beingness, you'll never say those words, and you'll never judge other people. And you will not be a person that's waiting for the sale. Again, an abundant state of being has to do with not being afraid to spend money on what you value. And the abundant state will see the value of paying for something valuable. If you eat out and you value eating out, it'll be nothing for you to drop $100 on a meal because you value that meal. Whereas somebody else who does not value that, but might value going to the grocery store and spending that same amount of money on organic food that maybe you would not do. So again, we don't need everyone's values to be ours. And that's where, if you have an abundant mindset and a state of being, you're not in judgment of what other people are doing. So the key to remember here is that you can really, truly only embody abundance if you're super clear on what you value. So in this last week of Taurus season, I implore you to consider, what are you investing in? What is bringing value into your life? What is valuable to you? And I know that most people do not know what they value, because we often think our values are, basically what society tells us our values should be. We look around and we think we should adopt the values of others. It's a life's journey to know our Venus and to know what we value. So don't be hard on yourself if you're not clear about your values. We can even do some of this in the workshop. So again, this is even more amazing. Why I decided to host this workshop on July the 4th is because the planet Uranus is at 29 degrees, and it has been moving through the sign of Taurus for the last 7 years. And it's been supporting us to break out of different fears around abundance, money, resources, self-worth since 2018/2019 timeframe. Okay, we've all been moving through this, but if you have planets or points in Taurus, you've been feeling this more specifically. And this July the 4th, we're going to have Venus conjunct Uranus at the very last degree. It's called the anaretic degree, which is a highly sensitive degree. And Uranus is this planet of the higher mind. It has to do with our intuition. And it's called the Great Awakener. It's the planet of freedom and liberation. It's about shaking us up and getting us unstuck. And that's exactly what this workshop is for, is to get us unstuck from some level of scarcity that we're in, so we can go to that next level of abundance. Uranus here is breaking us out of old paradigms, old fears, and out of old programs. So this is such a powerful transit for reprogramming and becoming more magnetic. Venus conjunct Uranus is auspicious, it's lucky, it's beneficial, it's about breaking opening up new paradigms on the inside of us. It's about synchronicities. And it's a very exciting energy. So if you're in Phoenix and you want to join us and awaken to this greater sense of abundance for yourself, I'm going to put the link in the description. But no matter where you are, you're very likely to experience something powerful on July the 4th. For some people, it might be shaking up. If you're not ready to let go of something, this transit will certainly shake out whatever is needing to be let go of so that you can get more free. Because again, Uranus is all about freedom. So I hope that this inspires you for your week ahead and you connect with breaking out of old paradigms for yourself. Take what resonates and please click the like button and subscribe. Feel free to share with a friend. I would love to see you soon at a workshop. Bye for now.